Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us today to our Fireside Chat webinar on Amazon Ad Metrics. The topic today is, should ACoS be your North Star metric? And today, our webinar is hosted by our partner, e-Comas. My name is Melissa, and I'm a senior partner manager at Amazon. And today we are joined by Nella, who is head of advertising at e-Comas, and together we will be facilitating and moderating today's webinar. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Nella. Nella, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Melissa. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm Nella, head of advertising at e-Commerce. I have 8+ years of e-commerce experience with a particular focus on Amazon and other e-commerce and not e-commerce platforms. I've joined this fantastic bunch of e-commerce experts to oversee the whole advertising piece with my fantastic team. And just a little bit of overview about e-commerce. So at e-commerce, we help businesses prosper on all of e-commerce platforms through deep analysis, tailored strategies, and seamless implementation and execution. We're a full-service e-commerce agency operating across different verticals and geographies, as you can see from the slide, thanks to a multi-skilled and multilingual team. e-Commerce is an Amazon verified partner, and we're an independent company with 50+ employees across different continents. And we specialize in particular in Amazon global expansion, retail media, and technology and analytics. I'm sorry, Mel, I think you're on mute.
That's a great start of the webinar. Sorry, I apologize for that. So thank you, Nella, for the introduction. Today we will cover a very interesting topic, which is about ACoS and should brand focus on ACoS as their North Star metrics. And today, Nella, we wanted to ask you why this topic is so important.
Yeah, so I think let's start by explaining what ACoS is. It means advertising cost of sales, and it compares the amount spent on your ads to the amount you earned through advertising sales. So many brands and people that are just starting on PPC are focusing on ACoS efficiency as the main metric to measure performance. And frankly, this is not surprising because the material on the topic from years back speaks of ACoS as the main focus for measuring your advertising efforts. But today, I would like to provide a different point of view that shows ACoS as actually a limiting factor if treated as the only metric to measure advertising success.
And why do you think that in the past, ACoS was presented as the focus effort for PPC?
So when I was managing ads in 2015, competition, CPC was lower, and I was quite happy with my 7% ACoS. The brand I was managing was thriving with very little budget, with CPCs as low as 10 cents on high volume keywords. Just to clarify, 7% ACoS means that your ads are working efficiently, because at an ACoS of 7, it means that you spend £7 for £100 of sales, while, for example, an ACoS of 50 means that you spend £50 for £100 of sales. Obviously, when you spend less to generate sales, you can consider yourself more profitable. Now, why was it easier to get an ACoS of 7? The main reason is that real estate on Amazon was quite different. Organic placements were up high in the search results, and my SEO efforts paid off pretty easily, allowing my brand to not only own the sponsored products placements, but also the top organic placements. I would say achieving sales targets was extremely easy as long as you had a decent campaign structure in place and as long as your listings were including your main keywords. We were everywhere for every category and with little effort, I would say.
The good old times. And can you tell us what's changed since then?
Yeah, so the first impactful change that we have seen is, like I mentioned, with regards to the Amazon real estate. In the past, search results were including more organic placements, but right now, most of the top of search results are sponsored placements, meaning that nowadays, as people like to say, you must pay to play to be on Amazon and sell on Amazon. Which brings me to the second major change, which is the different way of collaborating between different functions and different teams. Let me give you a quick example. Back in 2015, it was a habit for my team to catch up at the beginning of the week to report on performance and next actions, only for us to meet up the following week for the same. Between one meeting and another, advertising and content were pretty much autonomous in the work they were doing, where my team optimized their ads, the content team optimized listings according to new findings. There were regular interactions, but it was more of an informative type of interaction, as in, hey, I saw this keyword, I'm adding it to the campaign, see if you want to put it in the back end and see what happens. Right now, instead, every significant move, every opportunity on advertising or content must be discussed between the two teams, as they have to work in tandem to achieve visibility and improve ranking. Here at e-Commerce, for example, we make sure that we track the impact of every change, and that we ensure that we work in tandem as much as possible to ensure we are on the same page when it comes to organic ranking efforts. I've mentioned content and advertising here, but all functions have to be on top of the account always. For example, here we have different teams that focus on different parts of the account and brand management side. We have an advertising team, we have content team, cataloging, supply chain, and so on. Each of these teams focuses on their area of expertise, but also we make sure that we all collaborate together. Our approach, for example, when onboarding a client, is to define a long-term strategy based on their targets, but also making sure that we all collaborate towards the same objective. The implementation phase still involves all the teams, because, for example, I can't start advertising a product if the content team doesn't give me the green light. The ASINs that I'm going to advertise have to be retail ready. Another example, what about content changes that might happen after campaign launch? It works in the same way. The content team is constantly researching for new opportunities, new search queries to appear for, and the advertising team joins them in their effort by identifying new and great performing targets. So we all make sure that we all work in the same direction. Cross-team collaboration is the key today. And if you think about it, I'll give you an example around ranking for a keyword, which is something that people talk about a lot nowadays. You see that you have a good conversion rate for a keyword. You ensure that it is in prominent position in your content, obviously. You push your product for that keyword through PPC to get more traffic in, more conversions come in, as you already had a good conversion rate for that target. And Amazon obviously pushes it higher organically, as it's evidently a good fit for that keyword. So it's generating revenue. As Amazon pushes it organically, you get more and more organic conversions in, meaning that the ratio of spend to total sales will look better and better in time. And in this case, I'm referring to ACoS, which you calculate by dividing spend by total sales. A lower ACoS suggests better performance, as it indicates that you need to spend only by a certain percentage to drive sales. So these results are fruit of both of the team's efforts. However, if the content team decides to explore a different option without letting the advertising team know, we would see ACoS increase without knowing why. By removing an important keyword from your content, you risk losing ranking little by little. And from an advertising standpoint, we will see the ACoS increase for that ASIN, and we wouldn't know what the reason is behind that. So as we see ACoS decrease, not knowing that keyword has been eliminated from the content, we are obviously pushed to reduce spend on that keyword, and that will basically destroy all of the ranking efforts that we have built up so far. So in a nutshell, I would say these are the main things that changed. So as opposed to a couple of years ago, we see different Amazon real estate and the way we collaborate across teams. And also we see the importance now of looking at overall performance through ACoS rather than ACoS. So looking at all of this, you can see how ACoS could be slightly limiting. Melissa, you're on mute again. Sorry, I cannot hear you, Melissa.
I'm having some issue with my
No
mouse.
worries, we can hear you now.
Yeah, cool. So you from the scenario that you gave us, uh, you said that ACoS could be limiting. So how would you this statement apply to this scenario?
Yeah, it's quite simple. Measuring advertising spend against advertising sales isolated from the overall picture doesn't give you full understanding of your account performance, especially in terms of brand presence and visibility. If you take the scenario we discussed, we want to push our success for a certain keyword to the max. So obviously we want to spend highly on it. This means that my ACoS could be high as I increase my bids to own all possible placements for that keyword. Some placements will have lower CPCs, and that is okay, but some might be higher though, as competitors might be bidding highly for some of those placements. In this case, I'll find ACoS as high as 60 to 70% while pushing my way through competitors to appear in those important placements. What ACoS doesn't tell me though is the increase in visibility that will drive brand awareness and will result in increased organic searches and purchases. By looking at ACoS only, I would naturally reduce spend on a 70% ACoS keyword. But if I look at the overall picture, the visibility increase, the improvement in your product's organic rank for the keyword, you will keep spending to double down on your efforts that are paying off. So one must be patient, look at the general improvement in the metrics mentioned already. Organic purchases will decrease our ACoS, meaning better performance. And this means that you could have a 70% ACoS and a 10% ACoS, which means that pulling back on that keyword to reduce ACoS might not be the best solution in the long term.
Can you explain how does that happen, and how can you have a high ACoS and a low ACoS?
Yes, of course. The main factor behind this is ad reliance. So I want to explain what ad reliance is. I'm referring to the percentage of total sales coming from advertising and the percentage of sales coming from organic sales. If you have a high percentage of sales coming from ads, it means that you're paying a cost per click that for every click that drove your sales. Vice versa, if most of your sales are organic, you're only paying for a small slice of your total sales. Obviously, if you have a high ad reliance, it's not as positive. And if you have a low ad reliance, I would say is way more positive.
And what would you say is a good level of ad reliance?
So yeah, before moving to that aspect, I would like to provide a couple of examples of what happens when ad reliance changes. So let's put this in numbers. First of all, I want to make sure that everyone is extremely comfortable with what we are looking at here. And I'm referring in particular to ACoS. We have mentioned it earlier, but I will repeat it here. ACoS is different from ACoS. With ACoS, you divide your spend by ad sales only. ACoS instead is obtained by dividing your spend by your total sales. Where you use ACoS to assess your advertising performance, you can use ACoS for a comprehensive view of your overall strategy. So moving to the ad reliance example, I want to look at these two tables and how ad reliance can impact your overall performance. In the first table, you have an ad spend of 2,000 and ad sales of 4,000 with an ACoS of 50%. With an ad reliance of 50, meaning that 50% of sales are coming from ads and 50% are coming from organic, you will have 8,000 in total sales. And that will lead you to a ACoS of 25%. Remember, we calculate ACoS by dividing spend by total sales. So in this case, 2,000 divided by 8,000 gives us a 25% ACoS. If you look instead at the table below, you will see that with the same spend and the same level of ad sales, your ACoS is still going to be on 50% because those numbers haven't changed. But with the ad reliance dropping to 25% instead of 50, you now have only 25% of your sales coming from ads. meaning that there has been organic uplift on your account. And how does this change things? You still have 4,000 in ad sales, but now you have 12,000 in organic sales. With this increase in organic sales, now we have reached 16,000 in total sales. And with the same spend of 2,000, we now have a ACoS of 13%, meaning that working on the organic side of things, we slashed our ACoS in half by focusing on our efforts on other elements outside of the advertising scope. And I would say, in simple words, a high ad reliance tells you that there is a high percentage of sales coming from ads with no sufficient uplift on the organic side. And this is super important. E-commerce, we always strive to achieve low ad reliance. Obviously, it's not an easy task. Each ASIN is unique. Not all ASINs rank easily for the same keywords, not even the ones in the same categories. But the secret to achieve a good level of ad reliance is obviously to focus on elements that are not advertising only and to work in tandem between teams. Just to go back to your question, what is a good level of ad reliance? I would say the lower the better, obviously. But a decent level of ad reliance would be around 30 to 45%. I would say that would be good enough. We also need to be mindful, though, of the fact that each brand is at a different stage. I can't expect a brand that has newly launched campaigns to be on a 30% ad reliance. We are just getting started on building rank and organic presence. Spend is going to be high at the beginning, and most of the clicks will be coming from paid placements probably at the beginning. So I'm expecting to be above 70% for the first 2 or 3 weeks minimum. And the same can be expected for a brand that wants or needs an advertising revamp. Whenever you launch new campaigns, your ad reliance is bound to go up. But it's part of the process. We accept it, we monitor it, and bring it down through organic uplift efforts.
And talking about organic uplift, I think this is where we all want to know how can you achieve that? What's your secret sauce to get to that stage?
That's a good question. So first of all, when we start to work with a new brand, we perform an in-depth analysis on the status of the product detail pages content. That allows us to define how much room for improvement there is. You would be very surprised at how overlooked this is usually, how many ASINs we find without backend keywords or without optimized titles. That gives us an idea. Obviously, the content needs to be improved by quite a big margin. This means that once we have worked on it, organic traffic sales volume will improve.
Cool, thank you. Next question for me will be, if the ad reliance is high, but the content is good, are there any other action that you can take?
That's a good point. First of all, good content is not universal. Even though at first it might look like all is in place, we have title, bullet points, backend keywords, A+, and so on. What works for a cluster of ASINs might not work for others in the same brand category. We never assume that there is a one-size-fits-all solution for all ASINs. Content is always a work in progress. We can't, for example, optimize now and expect to look at it next year. We have to regularly look at content. Also, very often we come across situations where we are cannibalizing organic sales by paying for placements we all own organically already. Think about it. If you look for a certain brand of sneakers and you come across other brands in the search results, I don't think you're really interested in buying from not so well-known brands. You're looking for a certain brand of sneakers. So chances are that you're still going to scroll down until you get to the brand you were looking for in the beginning. In this case, if you find a sponsored result that the brand in question is investing on, you will click on it and purchase, and that brand will have paid a cost for the click that led to that purchase. But if, on the other hand, the brand is confident in their brand awareness and loyalty, they will choose to dial down spend for their branded terms, and you will still scroll down to find their product. But in this case, since the brand is not spending on it, you will find the organic result and purchase from it. And I mean, there you go, the brand captured an order without paying for it. In this last scenario, the brand is choosing not to pay for all the branded clicks, reducing ad reliance and working towards a lower ACoS. Obviously, we have to bear in mind that this takes a lot of testing, and sometimes we try to reduce spend on branded terms, but sometimes it causes a decrease in sales volume. When that happens, we know that we must increase spend again to protect the placements for the brand. And we need to continue to work on capturing the customer's attention. I think content readiness and branded keywords, organic sales cannibalization are only two of the factors that can affect ad reliance. I'm sure we'll be able to cover this topic in more depth in the future.
So going into the brand awareness side, I think it's really important, but how important it is and how do you tie it into the topic of ACoS as a metric to follow?
Yes, so brand awareness, I would say, is one of the most important aspects to build on. In simple words, if people know your brand, they will look for you instead of you looking for them, if that makes sense. For example, how do you know what skincare product you will buy next month? You know what your favorite brand is and what it does for you. You are aware of its existence and benefits. So you will look into what you already know when you need to purchase a product. Imagine the same thought process, but across hundreds of thousands of people. This is where you want to be as a brand. People are aware of your brand and its unique features that make it the best possible choice for them. So presence and visibility, I would say, are at the heart of every brand's awareness building journey. But how do you put yourself out there for people to remember and recognize you? You obviously invest in media presence. As we are all aware of, an investment doesn't necessarily mean short-term gains. So you might see the results in the future. The reason this is important to recognize is that if your goal is growth, you must increase your buyer's pool. And it's not as simple as spending a lot in advertising and targeting any audience. It takes a lot of testing, refining as we come across different audiences and targets. And the process is obviously much easier if you have a unique product that people are already searching for with no other competitors in your market. You're covering a demand that is there already and no one is supplying for. And this will pretty much guarantee your growth within that market segment that you will be able to identify pretty easily. You would be spending in this case just enough to reach that very specific target segment that will very likely buy your product, and this will lead to a very healthy ACoS and TACoS almost immediately. But where other brands are usually is if on the other hand, you have a product that targets a market with other competitors in, you'll have to find relevant audiences and hope to spark interest and then hope to get a purchase when reaching that audience, which will take obviously more time, more investment in terms of time and money. So in this case, there might be competitors that consumers know already, and the path to get people to buy your product instead of the competitors one might be quite long. And this is where you have to invest in your brand awareness. Not only you have to invest into putting your product out there, you will also have to invest in advertising that showcases why your product is better than the other and why it should be chosen instead of the competing one. And during this phase, you'll have to take into account that you are in growth mode and profit will come later when people will know and choose your brand. So this is where ACoS should be the last metric to look at. Reducing spend is not going to help you build brand awareness and visibility.
Exactly. And I think that comes to my next question when we come to the loyalty and the awareness and going to an unknown segment of markets. How do we tell the shoppers this is the perfect product for you, or it's better, my product is better than the competitor? How do we talk? What's the story?
Yes, so I think in the past couple of years, we have noticed a shift from the classic sponsored products placements to the beautiful and eye-catching sponsor brands and sponsor display campaigns in the image or video variants. And there is a reason behind this. So you can occupy the top search through sponsored product ads, but how can you show that your product is better than the competition? Sure, your price could be lower, which will be appealing to a segment, but if someone buys your product for the price, will they buy from you again once competitors reduce their price or have deals running? Same goes for your review count. You could always be behind a competitor at some point, and how can you guarantee that you will be the first choice next time? One could argue that you can play around with your main image, but there's only so much you can do in terms of differentiation in those placements. At the end of the day, a notebook is still a notebook in that placement, and no matter what your main image looks like or what your title says, because there is very little space for personalization. Now, sponsored brand and sponsored display are a completely different story. You can customize these ad types through your brand logo, targeted headlines, lifestyle images, product and USP-oriented videos, through also brand-focused videos. These are very, very powerful tools that Amazon is providing, and all you need to create impactful ads that shoppers will remember, because shoppers remembering you is the key to build brand awareness. So if you pick the notebook that I mentioned just earlier, it can easily become the best notebook in the eyes of a specific segment. So let me give you an example. If I create a sponsored brand campaign showcasing a person gluing leaves falling from a tree on the notebook's pages around the end of September, with a headline saying the best bullet journal for this season, any bullet journal enthusiast will be inspired and will proceed to the purchase, because in their eyes, thanks to that sponsor brand ad, the product has become the best option for that season bullet journaling activities. Obviously, this requires very, very precise segmenting of your advertising based on your potential audiences and a lot of research. What if the next person that sees the ad is more of a reading enthusiast? Obviously, they're not very likely to convert on that ad, but during my keyword research phase, the search query reading journal might come up a lot. If this query happens often, there you have another ad. You can create it easily, a video showcasing a home library and someone ticking off book number 5 of a list of 20 on the journal's page. There you have the perfect companion or the perfect gift for reading enthusiasts. So there is so much potential with these ads. Obviously, we have to be aware that not always they lead to a purchase. But as you illustrate so well why is the perfect product for these segments, some shoppers are still led to click on the ad and at least spend time with your brand on the brand store and either make a purchase on a product that they are interested in, or at least become familiar with your brand, which is also what we want. So that is one positive aspect of it. You can also create videos about the brand itself and drive shoppers to your brand store homepage, for example. If you have a unique and interesting call out, for example, if your products are 100% vegan, you can say it with a video and you will capture the right audience with a video about your brand. So with the sponsored brand video, or display campaigns, whether it's a custom image or a video campaign, and you can show your brand's logo as well. And this is another way shoppers might remember you. So some logos are very memorable, and you can use it at your advantage. I mean, each brand owner knows better than me whether the logo is memorable and whether there's a story behind it. So that is also something that we can share through those campaign types. And I would say these are just a couple of powerful tools that Amazon is giving us to create a connection with the shoppers, which is very important, and to tell them that our product is the perfect product for them. There are many more, of course, but we will talk about it probably at another time.
That's great. And I totally agree. I think on Amazon, you really have the opportunity to tell your story and to engage with the audience through advertising, which is something that is not given on every platform, but also to do it through creatives. And you can test creatives, you can test titles and everything to see what brings to that KPIs you're looking after. And
Absolutely.
going back to brand awareness, I think what we would like to understand is how do we measure the success and your efforts to achieve that level of brand awareness you want to be on Amazon?
Yeah, so like with everything else, Amazon provides quite a lot of solutions. I'm only going to go through a few of them. One of them is simply tracking your branded keyword search volume through your campaigns. So making sure that you create campaigns that drive your brand in front of different audiences, different customers, increase exposure, and then measure the search volume of your branded terms through tools such as Helium 10, for example. If you see that the more campaigns you create, the more people are looking for your brand, that is a clear indicator of your brand being in the thoughts of many customers as opposed to the previous period. We also have other ways of measuring this. For example, another thing that Amazon provides us is the brand metrics view, which is extremely, extremely useful. As you can see on this view, you can see the status of your brand across different stages in the marketing funnel. It gives you a great overview of how your brand compares against your competitors in terms of awareness, consideration, and conversion. And you can do this across multiple categories that are relevant to the brand. So if you look at this slide, it tells you how your brand competes against peers in your same category. And you can see a clear example here from one of the brands at the moment we started to work with them. Their conversion and purchase scores, which are the second and third section, were obviously above category median and category top competitors. But if you look at the brand awareness at the top, they were below their competitors. So that tells us straight away that this brand is converting well. People are purchasing when they reach it, but obviously awareness is not there. We're not reaching enough people. So it tells you straight away what the issue might be and what kind of actions you should be implementing. And there's also another way of measuring brand awareness performance. And this is obviously for those people that use DSP as an advertising channel. If you use DSP as an advertising channel, you should absolutely make use of Amazon Marketing Cloud Insights. We run DSP campaigns on many accounts in Europe and US, as we have our own DSP seat and our own team of DSP specialists. And the level of insights that AMC provides is out of this world. So one of the reports, for example, that I show in this slide is the number of instances that a DSP ad drove brand awareness that resulted in a branded search. So I can't imagine anything more precise than that. And the same goes for the marketing funnel view. So Amazon Marketing Cloud gives you a clear view of awareness, consideration, conversion, and loyalty that you bring in through your ads across different categories. So with AMC, this is, to be honest, just the tip of the iceberg. And we'll probably need 3 more sessions to discuss everything that we can do on Amazon AMC. But there are definitely other ways to track all of our efforts across the funnel. And like I said, we can't cover them all now for the sake of time. But as you can see, Amazon provides so many ways to measure performance that it's nearly impossible not to make informed decisions.
And you have plenty of content about AMC. I'm sure that we can share with the audience. AMC is the way forward. You have a really great insight that can be actionable. So to meet your KPIs. I wanted to ask you a last question. Is if you could maybe give us an example of how brand metrics help the brands you've worked with in the past or present.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. I'm going to do something unorthodox and go to the previous slide because I can actually give an example on this brand. So as I said, this brand had an amazing consideration and conversion score, but extremely low awareness, meaning that people interacted with the brand and purchased at a very high rate, but not enough customers were put in touch with the brand or the products. So seeing this, my team immediately set up high funnel focus campaigns, such as sponsored brand and display campaigns, to capture additional traffic. Only this, with I would say 4 to 5 additional campaigns set up, led to month-on-month sales increase of 40%. We had the conversion rate. We just needed more people to convert. We just needed to reach more people that would convert. On another occasion, to give you another example, the brand with this view, with the brand metrics view, had a score of 95 to 10 for all of the elements, all of the 3 elements. But in terms of sales, we seem to have reached a plateau. So we couldn't go beyond a certain limit in terms of total sales. But what this view gives you is not only this funnel view, but also this funnel view across different categories. So obviously, when you analyze some categories, you will see that your score is excellent across those categories. But what I strongly recommend people to do is to go through other categories as well and see what your score looks like in there. So in this case, we explored different categories and we noticed that the score wasn't as good in other categories. So straight away, we set up sponsored display campaigns to reach different audiences, different categories, while keeping an eye, obviously, on the performance of the winning categories. So we put a additional budget behind new categories, and needless to say, that's how we broke out of the plateauing. And we steadily increased sales by just below 5% every month, which seems little, but we finally managed to break out of that plateauing situation, which was exactly what we wanted to achieve.
Thank you for sharing this example. I think this illustrates e-commerce expertise for sure. We're reaching the end of the webinar, but before, please drop your question in the chat box. We will answer them shortly. From my point of view, it seems that Amazon is not only the place to drive sales and conversion, but really a place to grow your brand. And we are really seeing, and I'm sure you can agree, Nella, that we are seeing a shift from an ACoS and ROAS, and we are looking more into awareness metrics as measure of success. If you have any last comments, please be my guest. It's your...
Yes, I have a couple of comments. The first one is a very important one. So when working on your strategy, always think long-term. At e-commerce, we always think ahead. If a brand needs to build awareness, we like to provide an overview of what the beginning of the journey might look like and how the situation will evolve in the future, with as precise as possible timestamps against the different stages that we expect to see. The second very important comment is, please don't rely on strategies that worked years ago. I've worked with brands that were against changing content or launching new awareness campaigns and were expecting sales to increase at the same ACoS level as they were on 5-6 years ago by using the same strategy as 5 or 6 years ago. Be aware that times have changed and the playground has changed, and Amazon is evolving and our strategies have to evolve with the platform. There are great profitable ways to win. You just have to think whether you want to be ahead of the competition with your product or falling behind competitors that understand this point of view. And I would say it's very important that when looking for a good agency to work with, make sure that you work with people that are always up to date with the Amazon landscape. Then obviously there is a time for profitability focus. We're all on Amazon to sell for profit, but usually the profitability status comes after the brand awareness building. Obviously, different brands have different goals. We also know that some brands prefer to be always profitable. So we also know that in this case, we can expect a slower and steady growth. But if you want to be out there, increase sales, then building organic ranking and brand awareness is the way to go. And I just want to recap quickly some of the important metrics and the aspects to look at when evaluating the account performance. So brand awareness, ad reliance, ACoS are a great starting point. think ahead what is important for you at this moment in time and where you would like to be in the next couple of years, and reach out to us if you need help with it. We're always happy to help.
So we have a couple of questions from the audience. The first one is from Jederick. He's asking, would brand building on Amazon be key for brand awareness or off platform too, or any ratio?
Short answer, yes. Also off platform is very important. This is actually a very good question, because one of the another very important tool that Amazon offers to you is Amazon attribution. So obviously, if you want to build presence for certain keywords, a great way to go about it is to set up Google Ads, for example, with those keywords, and watch your organic ranking increase day after day just by putting little budget on off Amazon campaigns, driving traffic onto your listing on Amazon. So yeah, definitely, I would say a combined effort of on and off Amazon will generate great results.
Next question from Mail James. What other metrics would you look at to make sure you advertise profitably?
That's a great question. So I would say one of the metrics that I really love to work with when clients provide it is CPA. So if we can know exactly how much we can spend for each sale, that is the best metric to look at, because you know exactly, it's easy to calculate. So CPA, I'll just explain briefly, is a cost per acquisition, and you calculate it by dividing spend by the number of orders. So by dividing spend by the number of orders, you know how much you have to spend for each order. So obviously clients have all of the information about their P&L. And if they tell us this is how much you can spend for an order, it's very easy for us to set up campaigns around those metrics. So I would say definitely CPA is the best thing to look at.
Another question, I love this question today. Would you look at ACoS for new geo launches?
Well, whether it's a new product launch in the same geography or whether it's launching products across other countries, I will still say that we're still in the position of having to build presence. So I would say no, ACoS is not the best metric to look at in that case either. I will still go with the metrics that we have discussed so far and with the same approach that we have discussed so far.
And question from Kevin. How can you use automation tools if ACoS is not the main metric you follow?
Okay, I get this question because that's actually true. Most automation tools have ACoS as the main metric to work around. But I think there are some tools that allow you to work around that. For example, we can be very specific with tagging of campaigns. I will mention one of the tools, PackView, for example. You can set up tagging on a campaign level or an ASIN level or a keyword level. So we can definitely go around that in this way. If I know that I'm ranking for that keyword, I want to rank for that keyword, then I can probably put a different tag on that keyword and exclude it from the usual automation that I use account-wise and go about it that way. Or we have like share of voice rules as well that we can use in that case. So if we appear organically, like above certain placements, we can reduce spend to avoid sales cannibalization. So I think there are workarounds. Obviously, it would be good to see a switch from ACoS to TACoS when it comes to automation, and I'm pretty sure we'll see it soon.
I think we have two more questions. Let's maybe take one, which is, does the focus on all these different metrics impact the amount of work that the team can carry out?
I would say for a non-experienced team, yes, because it sounds like a lot of metrics that you have to put into your reports and you have to look at and you have to analyze. But at least I can speak for my team. We are quite comfortable with it. We report on these metrics on a daily basis. And as long as you have the right tools to report and as long as you have the right analytics team, I would say, which we're very lucky to have here, then it wouldn't actually impact the amount of work that we have to do. If we have access to this type of data easily, then we can easily define strategies around that data. So all I can say is make sure you work in a team with a great analytics team.
A good point. Nella, if we want to get in touch with you, if any brand needs your expertise, how can they get in touch with you?
You can scan the QR code in the slide, first of all, that will lead you to our website. And then you can also reach out to me personally on LinkedIn. My name and surname are in the slides. And you can reach out to the whole e-commerce team. So we are all happy to help at any time.
Amazing. Nella, it was great talking to you. Hopefully the audience find it insightful, and I'm looking forward to talk to you on another topic very soon.
Thank you so much, Melissa, and thanks everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.